Hey everybody. So as promised, here comes the story time episode for this week and a little preview of the new intro for the Storytime Friday episodes. Stand by.
Welcome to the Blotcher Show. My name is Chris. I'm your host, and you are listening to this week's episode of Storytime Friday.
This week's story is The Fight Within, Part 2. Jared woke up suddenly, looked around, and had no idea where he was. The last thing he remembered was doing a paranormal investigation in the Route 1 family diner with Brandy and a couple of their friends. They had divided up into two teams. The two other friends that had come with him were Team 1, and Brandy and Jared were Team 2. Team 1 had headed up to the attic to begin their part of the investigation, and Jared and Brandy had headed to the basement to begin theirs. Jared remembered being in the basement with Brandy. He remembered them splitting up and going to opposite ends of the basement to investigate and see what they could find. They hadn't been apart for too long before something had happened. But what was it? What happened? Jared remembered most of the main details, but he was extremely confused. He could not remember what had happened last, and he was also confused because as he lay on the ground looking around, he did not recognize his surroundings. How could I be in the basement of the restaurant one minute and then waking up somewhere else? He thought to himself. This just doesn't make any sense. Hello? Brandy? He called out, but didn't get any reply. Hell, he wasn't even sure he was in the same building. He was inside some kind of building, but it didn't look anything like what the inside of the restaurant looked like. It still kind of looked like a basement, although the restaurant basement was actually used for customers. So it had really nice carpet installed. But where he was currently at though, it was a cold cement floor. It seemed to go on forever too. He looked all around him, and all he saw was an empty space. All with a cement floor for as far as the eye could see. Where the hell am I? He thought to himself. Hello? Is anyone there? He called out again, but again got no reply. He checked his pockets to see if he had his phone, but it wasn't there. Shit! What the hell am I gonna do? He started hyperventilating, but told himself he needed to calm down. Chill out, man. Just think. Just think. What's the last thing you remember? He thought to himself as he tried really hard to remember. He sighed. I feel like it's right there on the tip of my tongue, right at the forefront of my memory, but I can't pull it forward. Jared stood up and looked around. He wondered which way he should try to go, but everything looked the same in every direction. It made him a little bit dizzy looking all around him. He covered his face with his hands and made himself take a couple of long deep breaths. He randomly picked a direction and started walking. He walked for what felt like 15 minutes and still saw no sign of anything other than the empty space and cement floor. He stopped and looked around again. How the hell can this just go on forever? He started walking again in the same direction. He thought he heard something in the distance behind him. He stopped and looked back behind him to see if he could see whatever made that sound. After not seeing anything, he turned to start walking again. and he thought he heard the noise again. He stopped and looked behind him again. Dude, you're imagining stuff. Chill the fuck out, he said to himself. He turned to keep walking, and he heard a very clear growl off in the distance behind him. Nope, he said as he took off running. He ran until he felt like his lungs were going to burst, and he slowed down to try to catch his breath. He looked back behind himself again, seeing if anything was following him, but he didn't see anything. Then he heard the growl again, but it was off in a different direction. He looked that direction, but then looked in the direction he had first heard the growl. Then he heard it again, only this time it was in yet another direction. Suddenly he felt himself feeling disoriented because he was looking all around himself. He covered his face with his hands and took a few long, slow, deep breaths. When he pulled his hands away from his face, there was something less than 10 feet away from him rushing at him really fast. Holy shit, what the fuck? Next thing he knew, he was waking up laying in a grassy area, propped up against a tree. Hey guys, come sit with me, Brandy waved to a few of their friends as they approached with their lunch trays. She had been friends with Jared for a long time, but they had 3 other friends that they would hang out with quite a bit. Their names were Matt, Derek, and Stefan. Hey Brandy, how's it going? Matt said. Pretty good. What about you? Brandy said. Oh, we're okay. Right guys? Matt said. Yep, we're good. Hey Brandy. Stefan was just mentioning Jared. When are we gonna be going back to the restaurant again and see if we can figure something out? Brandy sighed. I don't know, guys. It's been like 6 months and we've been back to the restaurant like 4 or 5 times. I don't know what else to do. Hey y'all, we can't give up. Jared is counting on us, Matt said. I know, man, Stefan said. But what else can we do? I don't even know if he's still in the restaurant. We've gotten hours worth of footage and tons of photos. There are definitely things going on in that restaurant, but I feel like none of it is related to whatever happened to Jared. Brandy teared up and buried her face in her hands. Matt put a hand on her shoulder. You okay? Brandy wiped a tear away. Yeah, I just worry about him. We've been friends for so long that it has really sucked not seeing him these past 6 months. I really hope that he's still out there somewhere and that something worse hasn't happened to him. You mean worse as in hopefully he's not dead? Stefan said. Brandy gasped and glared at him. Stefan put his hands in the air defensively. What? I'm only saying what we're all thinking. Brandy sighed. Okay, you're right. I just don't like to think about that as a possibility. I don't even want to acknowledge that it's a possibility. He has to be out there somewhere. Okay. Yep. So, like, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? Like, do we keep trying the restaurant? Matt said. Well, the owners told us that we're welcome to do our investigation every Saturday evening after they close for the night. I'm grateful that they're still okay with that because when Jared disappeared, they could have very easily said they didn't want us coming back again. If that were the case, Brandy shuddered. Matt again put his hand on Brandy's shoulder. Thankfully, that's not the case, but I feel like we haven't made any progress as far as figuring out what happened to Jared. We've gotten a ton of video and photos, and we've seen quite a bit happen. But I don't think any of it has anything to do with what happened to Jared. Wasn't there slime and stuff in the area that Jared went missing? Yeah, Brandy said. And there was a growl. Oh, right, that growl. I forgot about that. And we haven't experienced any of that again since that first night, right? Right, Brandy said. So what do you think that means? I honestly don't know. I think if it was something specific to the restaurant, I think we would have experienced some of the same stuff throughout all the times that we've been in there. The only thing was the whispers or whatever. The whispers? Stefan said. Yeah, Brady said. Since he went missing, yes, we haven't seen the slime or whatever. And we haven't seen anything like what we saw rush at Jared just before he went missing. But I've heard stuff. Like what? Derek said. Like almost a cry for help. Like like last time I heard it, I could have sworn it said help me. Don't leave me. But when I rewatched the video afterwards, I couldn't hear it on the recording. So I don't know if it was in my head or not, Brady said. Oh, now that you mention it, I've had a few times when we were investigating in there, I could have sworn I heard someone say help me, but it was very faint, Matt said. And did you check the recording? Brady said. Yeah, but like yours, there was no voices other than ours on it, so I don't know. Okay, y'all, Brady said. I think we should get back to the restaurant this weekend. And I think we should focus our efforts a bit more on the basement. It seems like we get more weird experiences there. Yep, sounds good, they all said. Thank you for calling the Route 1 Family Diner. My name is Penelope. How may I help you? Hey, Penelope, it's Brandy. Oh, hey, Brandy. How are you and your friends holding up? We're, we're okay. We still struggle with Jared not being here, but we refuse to give up. We're determined to figure out what happened and to get him back. That's actually why I'm calling. Would the owners allow us to come in this Saturday after y'all close and do some more investigating? Brandy, that won't be a problem. The owners feel horrible about Jared disappearing on the property, and they said that you and your friends are welcome anytime. They're just as anxious as you and your friends for you to be able to find Jared and bring him home. They can't express how badly they feel about what happened. Penelope stopped. Beg pardon? Penelope said. Penelope, we don't blame them at all. They didn't do anything to cause Jared to disappear. Please tell them that we do not blame them, and if anything, we are just very grateful and appreciative about them allowing us to continue visiting their restaurant and continuing to investigate to see what we can do to bring Jared back home. Brandy, that's really sweet of you to say. I will definitely relay that to the owners, and I'm sure they will appreciate that as well. So you all will be coming back around this Saturday night? Yes, ma'am. I mean, if that's okay. Of course, Brandy. Why don't you drop by Friday before we close, and I'll give you a key, a temporary alarm code. Give you the key and give you a temporary alarm code like all the other times. You pretty much know the drill by now, I'm sure. Yep, we've got it down. Thank you so much, and I will see you after school on Friday. Sounds great, Brandy. See you then, Penelope said before disconnecting the call. Friday afternoon, after they got out of school, Brandy stopped by the restaurant to meet up with Penelope so she could get the key and the temporary alarm code. On her way out, she stopped by Jared's parents' house. A minute or so after ringing the doorbell, the door swung open. Max, Jared's dad, answered the door. Why, Brandy, so good to see you. Would you like to come in? Hello, sir. Sure, I'd love to come in. Brandy, how many times must I tell you, call me Max? Yes, sir, Max. Apologies. Hey, Sharon. Look who's here, Max called out down the hall. Jared's mom appeared in the hall, making her way down to the front door and where Max and Brandy were standing. Why, Brandy, dear, it's been too long. Let's all take a seat in the living room. It's okay, ma'am. I don't want to take up too much of y'all's time, Brandy said. Brandy, please stop with the ma'am. Call me Sharon. Yes, ma'am. Well, I mean Sharon. Sorry. It's totally fine, Sharon said, as she motioned for everyone to go into the living room. As Brandy and Max sat down, Sharon called out from the kitchen. Can I offer you anything to drink? We have water, tea, Sprite, Dr. Pepper, and some of that flavored sparkling water. Tea, please, ma'am. I mean, Sharon. Sharon shook her head and laughed as she poured a glass of tea. Love, would you like anything while I'm in here? I'll do a Dr. Pepper, my love. Thank you, Max said. Here you go, you two, Sharon said as she handed them their drinks. So, what have you been up to? Sharon asked, as she sat down on the couch with him. Oh, not too much, Brandy said. Been busy with school as always. That and we're still going back to the restaurant to do investigation to see what we can figure out. I just wanted to stop and check on you two. How are you guys holding up? Max looked down for a second, then took a sip of his drink. Sharon coughed, and a tear rolled down her cheek. She took a sip of water and then looked back at Brandy. No, no, we're hanging in there. We still can't believe he's not here. We miss him so much. I know, Sharon. I can't apologize enough for what happened. Me and the rest of our friends will keep doing everything we can to find him and bring him home. Max squeezed Sharon's hand. We know, hun. We know. And we believe that somehow you and your friends will pull it off. Have you guys uncovered anything new recently? Well, Brandy said, when we were talking about it recently, we realized that we've all been hearing things at random times. What kind of things? Sharon asked. Well, things like a very faint sound, almost like the sound of a distant voice in the wind. What does the voice say? Sharon asked. Well, for the most part, when we've heard it, it sounds a lot like "Help me, don't leave me." Wow, that's very interesting, Max said. Do you think that it's Sharon's voice? We believe it is. Although I don't think we can be 100% certain. Why not? Max asked. Well, y'all, it's not a very clear voice. It sounds like it could be him, but it also is very faint, and so it also almost doesn't sound like anyone. It's more of a loud whisper, if that makes sense. Yeah, we got you, Sarah said. So something interesting about these experiences, though, is we've all heard them at different times. But when we go and bring up the video, you can't hear it on the video playback. Wow, that is really interesting for sure, Max said. Well, Brady said, as she finished her glass of tea, I guess I should get going. We're going back to the restaurant tomorrow night to see what we might be able to find out. Whatever we find, we will keep you posted. Every time we go back there, the night before, I tell myself, maybe this will be the day we finally bring Jared back. But then we basically go there and get a lot of random recordings, photos, and evidence. It still feels like we're no closer to finding him and bringing him home. Well, we appreciate you coming by. Can I get a hug? Sharon asked. Of course, Brandy said as she hugged them both. Well, I always say we need to have and hold on to hope. So let's just end this visit by saying what you would normally say, that maybe this one is the time when you guys will find him and bring him home. Thank you, Max and Sharon. I definitely am grateful that you have faith in us. You know, I always feel like I will never be able to apologize enough for this. Oh, shush you, Sharon said as she pulled Brandy into another hug. Just go do what y'all do, and if you don't find him and bring him home, you'll just keep trying until you figure it out. We believe in you. Whether it's tomorrow or the next time, y'all go back out there again. We believe you'll find him. Thank you, y'all. I really appreciate it. Of course, Max said. And please don't be a stranger. You and Jared have been friends since y'all were little, so you're kind of like family to us. Thank you so much. That means so much. Well, I'll talk to you both again soon. Of course, Brandy, be safe, Max said as he closed the door behind her. After running from something he couldn't see, but could only hear, he wasn't sure exactly what happened. One minute he was running, and then there was a flash or something. Did he see something come at him? He was just so confused. It was all so foggy. His head felt like he had downed either a bunch of shots to the point of blacking out, but that wouldn't be possible. Although he had tried a drink or two here or there whenever his parents offered. He didn't do it on his own. Being 18 and still in high school, he never really had the desire to get too much into that. At least not until he could do it without getting in trouble. Jared rubbed his temples. His head was pounding. It's like the more he tried to think about things, and the more he tried to remember what happened and what was going on, the more foggy his head was, and the more his head ached. In his gut, he had this feeling like he was being blocked, almost as if he were trying to call home, but was only getting a busy signal all the time. He sat back down and leaned against the tree he woke up next to. He closed his eyes and tried to focus. A few minutes later, he started to see a lot of random colors flashing all around him. He couldn't make out any shapes at all because it was too bright. Jared? He thought he heard very faintly off in the distance. Brandy? He called out, but even to him, his own voice sounded very faint. But to his surprise, he heard the voice again. Jared? Is that you? Yes, I'm here. Brandy, help me. I don't know where I am. Help me. Tell me how to find you, Jared. We're looking for you. We'll bring you home. Brandy! I don't know. I've been dreaming a lot lately. Seeing flashes and bright lights. I keep getting this message. A thought, really, but it doesn't really make sense. Jared, are you still there? Brandy, did you hear me? Faintly in the distance, he heard. Oh, good, you're still there. A thought? What thought? The message or thought that went through my head was find the coldest spot and travel the opposite direction of the growl. What? That doesn't make any sense, though, Brady said faintly in the distance. Yeah, I don't understand either. There was a few minutes of silence. Brandy, are you still there? More silence. Brandy? Brandy, don't go. Help me. I'm scared. Jared woke up, still leaning against the tree. He shook his head. What was that about? He vaguely remembered dreaming that he was talking to Brandy, but the more he tried to think about it and bring it to the forefront of his mind, the more his head hurt and the more the fog creeped in and took over his mind. The more he thought about it, it felt as if it was just yet another dream and that it was just slipping away from him. That one thing that stood out to him was what he said to Brandy. Find the coolest spot and travel the opposite direction of the growl. What the hell does that mean, he thought to himself. His head was so foggy, especially now that he wasn't even sure that he was remembering that correctly. What the hell is this place? Why can I not remember? Why can I not think straight? Jared shivered as he tried to think about him. It worried him because the more he tried to think about what to do, to think about how to get back to his friends and his family, the more his head hurt. The foggier his mind got, and it made him extremely afraid that some unseen force, was keeping him trapped here. It felt like, in a way, that all he had to do was be able to think clearly, and he'd be able to either get a message to his friends, or he would be able to find a way out for himself. But it felt like there was something keeping him from being able to do that. He couldn't think straight, so he couldn't really make a plan. He wasn't even sure that he had really talked to Brandy. He thought there was a high probability that it was all just a dream. He shuddered at that thought. He reminded himself what he had always said when hanging out with his friends. We have to hold on to hope at all costs. Brandy woke up Saturday morning, and she sat up in bed and stared at the wall, deep in thought. She felt a sense of joy, but also a sense of confusion as well as heartache. Had that just been a dream? She could hear a voice that sounded just like Jared's, although it was way off in the distance. But she had asked him questions and he had answered her. But again, was it real? Or was it just a dream? Was her mind playing out a scenario wishful thinking for her? What was that he said about a thought? She rested her head in her hands for a minute as she thought. Find the coldest spot and then go the opposite direction from where you hear the growl? What? She thought to herself, feeling more puzzled than ever. That doesn't make any sense. If it was me really talking to him, why couldn't he be more clear, she sighed. Shaking her head, she figured it wasn't something she would be able to figure out right now. She would talk to her friends about it a little bit later and see what they thought. Maybe they would be able to make sense of it. For now, she was just going to try to not think about it and get ready to head out to meet them. Today is the day. Today, they were going to be going back to the restaurant to see if they could figure out anything else. She was both excited and terrified. She didn't know if they would bring him back today or if it would be yet another investigation where they would get lots of evidence, but lacked the one thing that they were there to achieve, which would be to bring their friend home safe and sound. To be continued. Welcome back, guys. So, again, apologies for the delay of this week's Storytime Friday story. And also apologies for the fact that I wasn't able to really close it out. I kind of ran into some issues this past weekend as far as trying to, complete that story or whatever. But hey, that means there's going to be a part 3, and hopefully I can close it out then. But I think the story is going along pretty good. But anyway, appreciate you guys being here. As you guys have noticed, I am trying to make little changes. Got the new intro for the Storytime Friday episodes. Working on a new intro for the Real Talk Tuesday episodes. Try to change things up. Make things a little more entertaining and stuff for you guys. But hope everybody's been doing well. Feel free to to drop me an email at blogshowpodcast@gmail.com or from the main website blogshowcom. Click the contact link and you'll see a little pop-up for you to drop me an email as far as like what you think of the stories, any suggestions for topics for the Real Talk Tuesdays, or even if you want to give any suggestions for like story ideas. Aside from that, definitely anybody that wants to support the podcast for as little as $1 per month, or even a one-time donation, because there's both options. You can do a monthly option, or you can do a one-time option. Go to blogshowcom/support, or go to blogshowcom and do the drop-down menu and click the support link, and it'll take you to literally straight to the support site, where you can decide whether you want to do a one-time or a monthly. So I'm just glad that I was able to come on here and actually get this taken care of. Thankfully, I'm a lot better health-wise. Still not 100%, but I noticed today that when hanging out, after I woke up this afternoon, after getting off very early as the morning, I got back here 4:45, 5 o'clock. Probably got up by 3. Told myself, all right, I gotta get up, because last weekend think I woke up like 6 p.m. and then of course I tried to go to bed like 5 or 6 in the morning, Monday morning, and I had so much trouble getting to sleep because of the fact that I got up so late Sunday night. So I forced myself to get up this weekend, you know, on Sunday afternoon, so that hopefully I can get to sleep, you know, after I do this one, you know. But anyway, one other thing too, definitely, like I mentioned in the that bonus episode, the update, when I was letting you guys know what was going on and stuff. I started a blog, which probably be updating that here, you know, after I get this episode posted. So it'll probably be updated before you guys see this episode go live, even though I'm gonna get it edited and posted immediately. But aside from that, I appreciate you guys being here, and you know, like I apologize about all the ums and the dead spaces and whatever. Just tired and still technically recovering from whatever I've been sick with the past week. But I was able to come on here and, you know, take care of this and stuff. So I'm just grateful for that. So check out the blog, which is tntruckerchris.wordpress.com. Eventually, I probably will add that link to the website. I've updated the username on like Instagram and Facebook, and I think I've changed it on TikTok as well. So tntruckerchris on Facebook, TikTok, and on Instagram. You can find me on all those. I think I might have changed that on Twitter or Twitter X, but otherwise I believe I'm on there as CEAZ Freedom on Twitter X or whatever. So, but aside from that, I will let you guys go with that. But again, to throw the few things out there, blogtheshow.com has all three, or the main three sites as far as the podcast platforms like iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Even though there's a bunch of other ones I'm connected to, there's a contact link for you guys to send me an email. And then if you go to the drop-down menu, there's a promotions tab that has a couple of different promotions for things you guys can sign up for and, you know, get a little bonus, make a little money or whatever. But there's also the support tab, which will take you to another site to be a Patreon of the Blog Show, where you can actually decide to do either a one-time donation to help the site out or to help the podcast out, or you can do a monthly for as little as $1 per month. To give you guys a little disclosure, eventually I do plan to add some extra bonuses to the podcast, like merch or whatever, you know, if I can figure it out. Probably bonus episodes that anybody that becomes a supporter of the podcast will actually have access to. Of course, anybody that supports will help push that along, because of course, like, you know, there's extra little you know, costs to keeping the podcast up and running. But aside from that, one other thing, if not monetarily supporting, I definitely would request that you guys, if you like the podcast, to share with your friends and share with anybody you know, and click the subscribe button. Sorry again, I'm still dealing with this cold and trying to get better. But click the subscribe button, and so that way you get notified whenever I do a new episode. But aside from that, I want to end this episode with the usual quotes that I have. Believe you can, believe you will, and you're already halfway there, and then you just have to go out there and do it. Keep on moving forward, keep pushing forward, keep believing. No matter what people say, guys, you have to just keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep taking it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, and doing what you gotta do. So, on that note, thank you for tuning in with me tonight. Sorry about the delay on this Storytime Friday episode, and I look forward to seeing you guys on Tuesday for the next Real Talk episode. And again, I apologize, but of course, with that bonus episode, that this week you guys got 2 episodes. So I will try to obviously not let that happen again, but that's why on Friday I thought, well, crap, because of being sick, I was kind of struggling a little bit, but I thought, well, I'm gonna at least jump on there and do at least a bonus episode, so that way let everybody know what's going on, and But aside from that, as always, thank you for tuning in with me, and I appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.